We on.
Barbershop Store, episode 13. We on cranking.
That's right. Welcome. Heary. Apu. Whatever.
Who that is?
Bennie back in
Who that is?
Bennie back in
All right, yeah, he said he got some gumbo. Yeah, that's right. Hey, Barbershop Store is episode 13. I'm comedic narrator, haircut, slanger, Bennie Mac. That's
Sammy No No.
that's Sammy No Nose, and this gentleman here is
Tamadani Kapuki.
Tamadani Kapuki.
Tamadani Kapuki.
That's right.
Make sure we get it clear.
Well, before we go any further, before we get to talking to these folks and all that good stuff, what's the meaning of that name? What's the meaning of the name? First and last, because typically when you got a name with more than a couple vowels and a few consonants, it normally means something. What do you mean?
Simply found. Simply found. And to tell you about my name, I have to go into why my name is Tamadani Kapuki. And being born in America, like most Americans born here, most African descendants here in America, well, we was disconnected from our name. We was disconnected from our culture. We were disconnected from our heritage. So myself as a young black man, like most young black men in America, I had no idea about my culture, about my family lineage, where I came from or anything else. But about 30 years ago, I began to do genealogical work.
30 years ago, so you started doing that at about 7 or 8.
Well,
You look fairly young, man. We talking about 30 years ago, man. You know?
well,
So
I appreciate that.
So in the first grade, you went on the junior high. Okay.
Well, I appreciate that.
And they ended that a long time ago.
Oh, yeah.
Right, but you know, where it came to, well, what sparked my interest was in 1989, my mother passed on. And at that time, we had many discussions about the family, but, you know, like most,
You
black
know the
men and
immediate
stuff,
people.
yeah, so wasn't a whole lot of interest there, but it's just something that clicked that caused me to begin to search back and to research my mother's side of the family, and later on I got into my father's side of the family, and of course that set me on a quest to understand who I am, where I come from.
So your born name is,
Bennie Holmes.
okay, I know we know, but for the crowd,
Right.
Your name Bennie? That's my name. Oh, man. Look at that. I thought it was me and that dude on the west side named Bennie, man. So it's 3. All right.
Oh, yeah.
Happy to meet you, man. Great to meet you.
Big
All right.
Benny in the house. Big Benny in the house. That's what we call him around here. Now it's Tamadani Kapuki.
Tamadani Kapuki.
All right,
Yeah.
so you said you went on a conquest to find out your family history. What's the importance of that? Because a lot of people look at it like, I'm living in the now, nothing before me really matters. What made you go on that search, and how is it really important? What's the importance of it?
Right, and I hear that so often, but the reality of it is very important. It's very important because if you do not understand your past, there's no way you can plan for the future. And there's a Swahili word which simply is Sankofa. That's a Swahili word, and it's from the continent. And the word Sankofa means to reach back and bring forward. Simply put, if you don't know anything about where you come from, there's no way possible you can set your destiny in the future.
Sankofa.
Sankofa. So we're running around here. We're moving around, basically like those zombies that you see on TV.
Walking Dead.
The Walking Dead, right? So, and that's where the masses of blacks are. We're walking dead because we have no idea of who we are, where we come from. We have absolutely no way that we can plan our future because we have no idea where we come from. And nothing of the past.
So Tamadani Kapuki is that's Swahili.
Tamadani Kapuki, that name originates from the heart of the continent, and that's the African continent, from the Democratic Republic of Congo.
So the Swahili language is just one of the African languages of the continent.
Absolutely, that's one of the languages, but it's probably the most used language because it's a trading language. Just like right now here in America, everybody uses English, and that's what they trade all around the world. But we don't realize that Swahili is also a trading language and is used to trade all around because you got a number of 54, 55 different African nations on the continent, and they all don't speak. Well, there's close to 2,000 languages, so there's got to be one way to be able to trade.
A median language somewhere.
Exactly, and Swahili is generally that language. But with the coming of the European, we have had English and French at certain points in time that has taken that place. So one of the things that we have to understand is that we're no small group of indigenous people to one particular landmass. We're billion strong, and that's with a B. We're billion strong. So everybody thinks that the Chinese and the Indians are massive in their numbers, but the Africans have numbers in the billions, and of course we are throughout the diaspora of the world. And of course, like I said, going back to that terminology, using that word Sankofa, you got to be able to reach back and know these things to be able to bring forward. So we find that so many of our kids, because they do not know nothing about themselves, about most they know, some of them may know their grandmother, but beyond that, they're completely clueless.
It's running thin and thin as time goes on. I tell you, I come from a pretty large family. Not to cut you off, I come from a pretty large family, and I can just see how it's just so many people in the family. It's hard to tend to everybody, and you're between working and kids and handling business and stuff in your own personal space. You can actually lose that family element. So
Absolutely.
Kids knowing a great grandmother or aunt, uncle or somewhere across town, that's almost foreign these days. You know what I'm saying? A cousin or something, second, third cousin, that's foreign, man.
And it's very important though too, because I don't know if y'all know that's where waterhead babies come from. If you don't know your folks and your little boy walking backwards, supposed to be walking forward or something, like he ain't got no more to reverse. That's where it come from.
Mixing that blood, right?
Yeah, so the baby is sharp and all the sharp. You got to know your folks. You know what I'm saying? I think that's a good thing because, like you said, the average person, they may make it to great grandma.
Right.
But
And that's because maybe a couple folks still alive and can.
that's it. Her mama ain't fell out. These days.
Yeah. So, but in reality, that's all part of the greater disconnect, and it's by design. It's always been by design. It's been by design since day one, when the African and the Europeans collided on this continent. It's been by design. Currently, right now in 2019, we're going through a phase where they're talking about the separation of the so-called Mexicans, the SAs. I'm not going to say Mexicans because it's not just the Mexican people. You got the Salvadorans, you got the Venezuelans, and the SAs, people from South America coming into this country, where the European, Trump in particular, and his crew realized, because this is straight from their playbook, we go separate that family, we go tear that family apart, and before they get here good. So we go send the mother and father back, and we go hold their kids, and in the process of holding their kids, we go culturally redirect what they know, so that therefore they will take on a culture that is not theirs, and they will begin to resent what they have known in the past and begin to, and it doesn't take long.
Evolve into what they got laid out for.
And it don't take long for that to occur. So, but this is what's going on in 2019. But it's the same thing that's been going on for 500 years in this country. We're at a point here, and one thing I have to, give the European his accolades on this fact. One thing that they do, they put everything down in writing. So we know from from the year 1619, August the 23rd, 1619, when the first slave ship was docked in the port of Maryland, well, what is called Maryland now. We know that because they wrote it down. So that's a beautiful thing. So we know exactly, it's been 400 years to the day plus a few extra days. But we know this was occurring before 1619 as well.
Exactly.
So
It didn't just start
it
then.
didn't start then. But we got good records from that point in time, as well as the number of laws that went into effect immediately. They started passing laws to restrict, they call them black codes and Jim Crow, and all in, right now they call them, the laws of the state of Alabama. So, but it's the same thing.
1901.
It's the same
They're
thing.
still on the book, huh?
It's,
They want to enforce them.
it's the same thing.
Sure they will.
A discretionary law.
So, but that's just a little bit of history about myself in terms of the reason why I came to the need to change my name, because of the separation of my family. I know for a fact that on both sides, my paternal as well as my maternal side of the family, that they were enslaved people. One came in from the port of Georgia through South Carolina, the other one came in from Virginia. And Alabama this year in December will be 200 years old. My people on my father's side came into Alabama exactly during this time. Just before the state of Alabama
You
became
did
a
the
state
research.
200 years ago. So, my family has been here longer than the state of Alabama have been, but we came in from a different, point. We came in on different greyhounds.
Can't have to walk.
Yeah, so we,
All right, so with you going out on this conquest, seeking all this knowledge, what you gonna do with it? See, and the reason why I ask that, because a lot of people, some people use it to upstage other people. Some people use it as a learning lesson, and they go out and they teach others, or at least show them how to go about finding themselves as well. So
Right.
what you gonna do with all that knowledge?
well, this is the point. This is the point of the change in the name, is the fact that, like I say, I know for a fact that the family retained that name from, that name came from a European, a white European family. That name was given. All right, so I have no knowledge of what my name, my original family name, history and culture or lineage
Before they became.
before
Yeah.
homes. So, and my thoughts is that I believe that as a man, I have the right to name myself and not be restricted or constricted, whichever one you want to use, to the subservient name of some white guy who enslaved my family. So, with that in mind, I guess it started about 15 years ago. I started talking to family members and bringing it up and saying, hey, look, what you think about this, what you think about that. And, of course, they say, oh, man, lost his mind.
Oh man.
But I've lost my mind only because they didn't understand where I was coming from, in the fact to be able to, as a man, to have the right to name myself, rather than continue to carry on the legacy of some particular white guy who enslaved my family.
So you wasn't losing your mind. You was dropping that cultural evolvement they put up there.
I was involved. Right, absolutely.
Yeah, evolved from one thing to another. Yeah.
But what that involvement looked like to me, and looked like to relatives and close family friends that I talked to, it looked like the state of a crazy person, because they didn't understand. And as well as I talked to a lot of people around, and I would ask them about their name. I said, well, where your name come from? Oh, my name, from my grandfather. My grandfather's name was Ethan.
I want to hear that.
And I said, well, why you don't change it? They said, well, my grandfather's name was Ethan. I said, well, who your grandfather got his name from? So it's, and I'm not mad at any other black because of the way I do about my name.
That's right.
But it's the fact that it's just because we don't think about that. That's not something we think about. And you mentioned earlier about we spend so much time, we're constantly working. You know, but that's what we was doing 200 years ago. We was constantly working, you know. They had us out in the field working. We didn't have time to think.
Time.
So, you know, since I've been retired for a number of years now, and
Breaking the chain.
and what time?
Breaking the
Think about
chain.
it.
So you say you're
He's
retired.
a link in the chain.
All right, so I got a couple questions. All right, somebody watching this podcast say, you know what? I feel it. They do a little independent research and they find out how to go about, changing their name. How do you go about picking the name? Do you just be like, something I'm gonna do? Yeah, that sounds fine. Do you just pick it, or is it a way you go about picking it?
Well, my name was I was adopted by a family from the Republic of the Democratic Republic of Congo, DRC, and it's just a situation, and of course, like I said, here again, everybody don't feel this way. Now, because my family life had been completely separated, I had no way of knowing what part, did I come from East Africa, South Africa, or West Africa? I had nowhere at all of knowing this.
Let me see. Hold on.
Well, see, you're joking, but
okay,
you're joking, but that's generally the way they do it.
Yeah. Facial features.
That's what I'm
Get
saying.
face
I'm
features.
going by the white man try. Yeah.
How your cheekbone is,
Right.
how wide is your nose,
That's
how
right,
big is your
that's
ear,
right.
your chin.
I probably say Sudan.
Uh-huh.
The head is tall.
Sudanese.
Sudan.
Yeah, Sudanese.
The
So
head
the,
is taller
separ-
than Sudan.
the separation of families to me, man, was one of the most impactful things of slavery.
Yes.
Because you don't have anybody to stand and fight with that you can trust, or that's loyal to you for some other reason other than, you know what I'm saying, some money or something like that. I mean, that family element runs deeper than a lot of things, so they know they had to, if people knew they were related, and how you gonna treat my son and son, my uncle like, or my brother, or my,
Exactly.
it would have been a little bit more, rowdy stuff going on them plantations, man. If everybody, can look at each other and knew each other from that foreign land, but they separated them before they even got them here.
Absolutely. And then to another point,
they were unfamiliar to each other.
Exactly. And another point is that they didn't come over there and grab, Sam.
That's right.
They grabbed Sam's son, who may have been, 12, 13
Don't
years
know
old
nothing.
somewhere, right?
Yeah.
Who was at the most vulnerable point in time in his life.
Sam
And
got
they
slaughtered.
Yeah, exactly. And they subjected him to this harsh, just brutality that is just, it's just almost unconscionable to even talk about. And, just completely broken down because he's already at a very vulnerable point in his life.
Right.
So you just break
Scared
it
as
down.
shit.
Right.
You got people looking at me and I ain't never seen, in a place I've never been.
Never been.
Yeah.
Right. So,
Scared as shit.
and that's the case there. And so often I hear people talk about, say, well, the African, this is the thing right here because there's another propaganda too that the European use is that, the Africans sold Africans. Well, let's talk about that for a second. All right. Slavery has been a fact of life since mankind. But on the continent, there was a whole different type of slavery. I'm not saying enslavement, but I'm saying slavement. There's a difference in those words. So in Africa, my understanding and my studies have said that, all right, this my son here, he's just acting a fool. He's supposed to take the trash out. I wake up in the morning, take the trash out. Come back home from a long day out, working, trash still sitting in the house. After going through that 3-4 times a month, all right, what I'm going to do, I'm going to send you over to your aunt, or over to your friend, or maybe the family friend across the way, and you go into work for him.
I don't know, like a boot camp.
That was the type of enslavement. It wasn't just this type of horrendous brutality type enslavement that blacks endured here in this country.
It was even if you owed a debt too, right?
It was like
Yeah,
if you owed a debt.
If you owed a debt, you had to look
Servitude.
on till you
A
paid
servitude,
it off,
right.
till you paid off that debt.
Yeah, so, and we need to, for the blacks who like to bring that up and talk about that foolishness, I suggest they do a little bit more study and find out exactly uh, the slavery on the continent compared to the enslavement here in this land and other European locations.
The folks that been threatened or getting paid, they done worse. I mean, it ain't hard to believe that out of a whole continent of people that you probably get one to say, you know, to do it your way or just say, okay. I mean, not saying that that's how it happened, but it wouldn't be hard to believe that, okay, we caught this one out here hunting and we tortured him to, he started helping us trap him and catch him and, you know what I'm saying? I mean, it's so many ways you can look at that happening.
Oh, yeah.
It's hard for somebody to just say, black, so why y'all mad? Man, stop, man,
Right.
come on.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
picking now.
Exactly. So, you know, without any, and most of the people out here saying this, they have no knowledge of history, had no studies,
Yeah.
and no
They
scholarship.
don't even want to, not even really interested probably. They just want to deter you or
That's all.
you know,
Wanna
That's
debate.
pick you.
A lot of times when people be debating, they really be knowledge picking. Cause they know if you say certain stuff, even if they disagree with you, they still pick it up.
Looking for an
Yeah.
argument.
Instead
Yeah.
of a lot of them know how to articulate themselves and just ask.
But, and of course, that's one of the reasons why, because my quest to be able to name myself and to identify with someone other than the Europeans, colonizers.
So when you rename yourself, what's the process? How does a person go about doing it? You just say the name, or is it a $49.99 fee, or
Well,
some? What's the
Well,
process?
this is what they do in the state of Alabama. They tax you to change your name. When I changed my name, I didn't just, change my name. I changed my name. And one of the things I wanted to know, because I felt that I needed that pushback, and I believe this, if more blacks, the masses of blacks would do this, we could get some change in this country. But I went down, I paid them, it cost $100, and Social Security, driver's license, birth certificate, everything. Completely wiped everything clean. So,
What's the significance of all of us doing it, or a mass of us doing that at one time, and you know?
well, right now, we kind of touched on it a little bit, is that white people, they don't fear a pushback from black people. Because right now, in their minds, is that they're one of us. And this is the position that they take when we talk about reparations. So a lot of times when I hear people talking about reparations, I generally don't even get involved in it, because white people have told you, said, and this is what they say right here. Well, how can we do it? How can we distinguish who gets reparations?
Through records. You just said earlier, keep great records.
Well, the thing is, because they want to
you
say,
gotta be able to bring it and prove it, though.
they want to say that because of the race mixing and so forth, that they did.
That's right.
You know.
So hey, all of that go in the pot.
Yeah, so one way to push back is say, yeah, maybe that happened, but I'm not going with it. And, my name is not John Jackson or James or what have you. This is my name. So I'm identifying here. This is my identity. And this is really the only way all around the world. You have to identify who you are.
You gotta be
You have to identify. And right now, the African Americans in this country, they don't identify.
They identify with a color and not with
No.
a
What I'm
nation.
saying, they don't identify as being African people. They identify along with the white people.
Yeah, that was they identifying as a color. And
Race,
even when you go in the law book, it ain't got no standing in law. So when people say, like say, call them black, and I know we're saying just, for some understanding on the podcast, but a lot of people don't know when you go to fight law in this country, black has no meaning. So that's what I mean by identifying with a nation.
Yeah.
So a lot of people, they don't know, I'm black, all right, bet. And
Yeah.
that's why a lot of cases get lost too.
Yeah. Yeah, they do have to identify, and if we really want reparations, that's what they're going to have to do. They're going to have to take a stand, and a lot of blacks don't want that. They talk about they want reparations, but they really want assimilation, and that's all they want. And that's the masses of blacks, because you don't see, you don't see that pushback. You know, we get involved in a lot of foolish stuff like talking about civil rights. What is civil rights? What is that? You know, I assume you're talking about human rights.
Hand out, basically.
You know, if you're talking about human rights, that's a God-given right.
Well,
So that's something you don't have to.
Well, just explain a little bit about what's the difference in when people fought for civil rights opposed to human rights. Even though it sounds obvious, but break it simple and what's the difference between the both and what we fought for as far as civil rights.
Well, when you fought for civil rights, you was fighting to be a part, there again about that reparation thing, you was fighting to be a part of a system that's in place, a white system. You was fighting to be a part of that. You wasn't fighting to be, you know, when before that, back in the early, at the turn of the century, in the 1800s, when DuBois and a number of the dignitaries, black dignitaries got together and started forming what became the NAACP, but before it was called that, it was called Niagara Association. It was about economics. They wasn't talking about no civil rights.
Treat us right.
Yeah, they wasn't talking about that. Well, hey, I want some economics.
I think you don't need civil rights if people already acting civil. You got to establish civil rights where people ain't being civil at.
Yeah.
So who wasn't being civil? You know what I'm saying?
Right. So you know, we shouldn't even really been worrying about that. We should have been worrying about economics. And of course that was part of the agenda. But Mr. White Man came in, and a guy by the name of Joe Springer came in, and he wanted to say, well, because he was the money man. He had the money man, Jew guy, had the money. Well, let's talk about some civil rights. But black people needed economic rights because, you know, we're talking about only 35 years out of enslavement. You know, people were turned loose with nothing. Get off my land. And even the so-called land they gave them, they took it back.
Yeah, but see, and that conversation, I agree with you. I know it's valid, but I guess at the time, it was easy to convince them of something like that because it was really just keep your hands on you.
Yeah.
So when a person come up, and then they feed you just like now, hot dogs and all that stuff, it's easy to say, well, Lee, man, I hear what you saying. That nigga that gave me some hot dogs.
You being a little sympathetic right now. Chill out.
Yeah, so I think a lot of times it was like, I just want to be better for a second, not really thinking that it was all about the money. A lot of them knew, but the ones who knew, they called them radicals. So it was like, now you making us look bad, Tawanda. Oh man, just chill out.
Yeah, you know, at the turn of the century, let's look back at what was going on at the turn of the century. You know, everybody talked about the Black Wall Street. Everybody knows about that. Black Wall Street, just Black Wall Street. But do they really know? And when I tend to challenge people on this, I say, well, Black Wall Street, what you really know? This is what they don't know. What they don't know is these people were blacks that was straight out of enslavement. Had no education from white people. They did it all. They put the resources, the little resources they had together, and they made it happen.
Work their ass off.
So, and that's the untold part of the Black Wall Street, not only in Tulsa, Oklahoma, but you had East St. Louis, you got Birmingham, Alabama, you down in Florida, Rosewood, Florida, and all over this country. That's what was going on. Now, let's step back another a second or two, because we talked about, what's going on today, 2019, on the border. Now, once you take the people and recondition them to start thinking a different way, over time, that's going to become the norm. It's going to become the norm. So you stop talking about economics for your people and you start talking about civil rights, and then it's going to catch on. Everybody talking about civil rights, so that must be what we need.
Yeah,
See, you're starting to get a mind change.
Yeah.
You know, you're going through a whole new revolving type situation, and before you know it, it's all over the country. You know, civil rights. Nobody's talking about economic rights. Nobody's talking about the Black Wall Street anymore. You know, they're talking about civil rights. For 13 years, starting in the late 50s through the late 60s, everybody's marching around here talking about civil rights. Nobody's talking about economic rights, but a few people, because we had Malcolm and Elijah Muhammad, And we had a number of other groups also on the ground that was talking about economic rights. So, oh, wait a minute, we're going in the wrong direction. But the masses,
Want the civil rights.
the
Because it's
masses,
more popular.
because that was the evolution, and the word was strong, the propaganda was
TV,
strong.
radio.
Right, and that's what you saw.
The big
all
big
along.
time preachers and speakers.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because I can remember seeing it on TV too. Every night, that's what you had going on. So it became a conditioning part. So at this point again, I use that word, Sankofa. It's time for us to reach back and come forward and get that situation straightened out.
All right.
It's economic rights we need.
All right, so you sound like you're a pretty knowledgeable individual. You got a fine new name. You know, obviously you know what you're talking about. So what do you think the solution is from what you've learned? What do you think the solution is?
Well, the solution is that we got to reclaim our culture, which I don't know if we can ever reclaim the culture, but we know we got to get right. We got to realize and find out who we are and who we used to be. I guess we got to find out who we used to be to begin to develop who we are today. So I know for a fact, and this is just I'm going to give you some 2000 BC history right now. We know for a fact that when the Egypt, everybody know about Egypt. Everybody know about Egypt, and what's that white guy name who came in and conquered? Alexander.
the Greek.
The Greek,
Yeah,
yeah.
the
So
Greek.
everybody knows about that, right? So we'll go back 2,000 years before him but another situation that was occurring in the what is North Africa right now, you had the situation of the African dynasties that was already in place that was starting to meet up with the Neanderthal people, the Caucasians, and coming in and begin mixing. And a whole new race of people sprung from that. And of course, we know who these people are now. You know, they had black, black mothers and fathers, and Caucasian mothers and fathers. In some cases, they had the Asian mothers and fathers. A whole new race of people. But they didn't want to be called African, Kemet at the time. So they came up with a new name, and that name is Arab. I want to be Arab, you know. So that was really part of the destruction of the African civilization right there. Because at one point where the African nations were strong, that came through North Africa, Sudan, West Sudan now, and some of the other Wataka, these strong nations. But they had so many of these mixed breed people that was among them.
Basically breaking it down.
Who fought with the enemy. And who
Breaking down the strength.
broke us down, right.
But see, I understand that, but that's kind of a tough one though. You know, I think for a nation to be overtaken, it had to be some weaknesses in there. You know, so like, and I think with every dynasty, at some point it always ends. Because whether it's through greed, whether it's through somebody that's just abusing the power, because I think all races went through that struggle. Like I think with the Asian folks, I think they ran it at one point. They got aggressive, they got overtook. Blacks, aggressive, overtook, and I think whites, I think the same fate is going to be for them. Aggressive, overtook. Now the question is, who's going to be next? Because really the whole world then jumped in the mixing game.
Oh yeah.
So
yeah,
now
it's absolutely, but there is, and of course we said that identity, how we identify, sets us apart from various groups, how we identify. Because if you look around the world, that's how people group up, how they identify. And we know for a fact here in this country, it's white, it's Caucasian. That's basically how the masses of people here identify. They can say they're black, they can say they're Chinese, they can what have you, but most of them identify as being white.
Yeah, identify
And they will
as white.
fight to the death for this country under the rules and the laws that white folks said, hey, we need to go to war for. We see it every day. So we saw most recently an African country fail because of the lies that was perpetrated and the propaganda that was perpetrated out there. We see African countries being held back today because of the lies and the propaganda that is put in place out there. So it's just it's how we identify and how we structure our nations that's going to make a difference in the coming years to come. But here in America, I've heard, and I've heard this for many years, is that the black man and woman in America is in a good place to change the world. I'm not sure. I'm not sure about that.
Why that?
Well,
Why is that?
one reason is because most of the times when blacks in this country, they go to Africa, they go over to the continent with the same attitude, a way of looking at the Africans on the continent as the whites do here now, and the same propaganda. So how can we make change on the continent when we go with the same way of thinking, mindset? So, you know, change may not come from America, not for the Africans.
But change does come through education, and like I said, we want to. I want to know personally about the Black Star Academy, man, and I've heard about it. I've heard about it from you. I've heard about it from outside sources, and it came back, and I was like, but Big Bennie be talking about that, man, and I just want to know about what's the difference of what is the Black Star Academy first before we go into anything.
I'll tell you what, that's a great segue to go into is the fact that, you know, Black Star Academy is an African-centered school, and it's the only African-centered school in the state of Alabama, and I can say that with all surety. I've traveled around and I've looked at various schools and their curriculums and programs, and I can say without a doubt we have the only African-centered school in America. So often when I talk about being African in Alabama, I'm sorry, in Alabama.
I just say, oh, fine.
Yeah, there's a number around the country. But when we talk about changing the world, we got to have an institution. Right, we got to have an institution in place that ready our kids to change the world. You know, that fight against that propaganda that's out there every day that we run into.
You got to breed it.
Right. So Black Star Academy is does just that. You know, we provide a education, and of course math, science, English, reading. It's the same for everybody, all across the board. But the element that we offer is the African history and the language, the African languages part of it.
So when you speak about an African-centered education, I understand what it is, but most people would say, how is that going to help me in my everyday life? Because a lot of times people, when they talk about what they don't want to learn or why they're not interested in it, is because they feel like it don't help. How is that important in everyday life, saying, you know I'm African-centered, right? You know what I'm saying? And letting people know that. How is that important in the society that we
in a white mind world?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Country.
one of the things I tell people all the time, especially African descendants of African black people, is that first of all, you got to understand what African-centered means. So, and understand what the word African-centered means is to be able to understand that African-centered simply means that it's about you and your community, and all that is of African nature. You know, the continent, the diaspora. The black is first. You know, we used to hear the old saying, "Black Power." You know, it's basically that same thing. It's centered around your blackness. Is that it's about your ancestry.
Well, I got a question. It's kind of on a lighter note, but I'm starting to notice something. Even online, on Facebook, the Instagram, the YouTube, all y'all Black Power fellas, y'all be light skinned. Can you speak to that?
Right. Well, And of
You know,
course,
they-
coming from the continent, we all, you know, we run a whole range of colors.
Think about UP, light skins.
Right.
That's what white people call the trouble starter. There's a lot of them,
Yeah, Fred Hampton.
Fred Hampton.
You know, but
They might fight the harder because everybody told them how light they was all their life.
that may be
Man, turn them to a harder fighter.
I got something to prove. I got to prove this. But you know, because that hue that come from the continent, we from South Africa all the way up to North Africa, you know, we got a variance of shades. And that doesn't mean, I hear a lot of people say, well, you know, white people come from black people. No, that doesn't say that. That said that, you know, white people come from white people, black people from black people. It's just that we got a various hue that we can choose from.
Well, I'm glad you cleared that up, because on Facebook, they be always talking about folks acting light-skinned, acting...
Yeah. Well, you know, that's that propaganda that's been put in our heads, and you know, they put that started.
Separation,
Yeah, you know, that part, because, you know, if you go back and you do your scholarship, you know that. But when we had the dynasties on the continent, that was never an issue. There's no talk nowhere.
Yeah.
You know, check the stones, and you don't see that nowhere.
Exactly.
So, but when you get to America and you get to Europe, that's what you see.
Bright skin, light skin, white, Mexican.
That's
No,
what
what they call them brown. They call them brown now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Black and brown
Yeah,
people.
and all that. So you know that propaganda. And one thing I have to say, you know, they got some healthy propaganda. Look at the man right now, what he's doing. The man up in 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. You know, he's making that propaganda heavy, and we got folks that's sucking it up.
Eating it up, baby.
Yeah.
What's the grade level at Black Star Academy? What y'all start? What y'all finish at?
We're taking them from birth all the way to 12th grade, 18 years old, age, whichever comes first.
So just like any other general school, you know, you can get your full education now.
You get full education there.
All right.
And, you know, there are some exceptions, like I said, in the state of Alabama, I know for a fact, the only languages you go get here is European languages. You're not going to get no African languages.
They're going to give you that French and that Spanish, mainly, in public school.
French, Spanish, and then, of course, you go to super advanced, you go to jumping into other stuff, but that's by choice.
You're going to get that. You're going to get Spanish regardless.
Yeah, you're going to get that. So, but
French
you
by
know,
choice most times.
But, you know, these are all European languages, and I had a black woman who said to me, well, what are our kids going to do with that? And I said, well, what are they going to do with French and Spanish and German and Mandarin? You know, what are they going to do with that?
Learn how to talk to and barter with somebody else.
Absolutely.
I had a guy, we got a client that comes into the shop, and he frequents overseas. We actually got a couple people that frequent back and forth over there, and they say, man, if you take trips over there and just see some of the things that, you know, you can't bring anything back from over there, because, man, you can get back through customs with drugs probably faster than you can some fruits and different foods from these other countries.
Yeah, from the continent.
Yeah, if you ever, you know, been through customs, they don't play by food travel. You come through there with a sack of reef before you come through there with an orange or apple or something.
Yeah.
But what was I getting to? It's a guy that comes in and he says, man, you take a trip over there, man, you'll find some of the stuff that products you can come back over and sell to our people, man, that stuff that we really can use and quality, and we can get it at prices where we can actually come over here and make good money off of it, but we just don't know because we don't go. And we, like you said, if you don't know those languages, you hadn't been introduced to anything concerning those areas, of course you're going to look at it like it's foreign. I don't think you seen afterwards, you know, people fan out flies on those commercials.
Absolutely.
You ain't thinking about going over there making no money move.
Absolutely.
But people that's you know, military cats that's had opportunity to go over there and see, they know different.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, you know, there's that disconnect. Now, people like to talk about capitalism, you know, and everybody knows that capitalism is an economic system, economic and political system that's supposed to be privately ran, right? But that's not the case here in America, because just as you say, when you go to Africa and you want to bring something back here as a black man, whatever you're trying to ship back here may be tied up at the port somewhere until it's gone. You know, it's completely rotted. You lost your clientele, everything, and that's done by the government. Now, Step back again, that word Sankofa again, step back again. At the turn of the century industrial revolution, guess what? Auto parts. And the most important part of autos came from where?
But bro,
Came from Africa. Rubber. Ties, right? Yeah, made ties, made seats, and all that stuff, you know, and they got away from the basically a horse and carriage type, you know, car to what we'll see today. And white people, they can go over there and they can get rubber, they can get anything they need. And right now it's cobalt. You know, they get all this stuff, bring it in here, and you know, if it take the ship, 10 days from the sail from the coast to get here, it's on the shelves. But as a black man, you order something, anything, cocoa, sheep butter, it'll be sitting down there.
soap we like to use, they say good for your skin.
Yeah. You know, has that medicinal ingredients, and you know, it'll sit down there at Dock, Alabama to its milk and everything. You know,
and then they say, all right, it's free to go.
Yeah, no, you can get it now, but you know.
Yeah, I remember what was me and a guy, we was doing a little business and ordering glasses and stuff, and it was coming from out of I think China, somewhere over there. I remember the last shipment we ordered, it took forever. We had forgot we hadn't ordered it.
Yeah.
Because it was stuck at the port through it wasn't customs.
But that's capitalism. That's capitalism.
Yeah.
That free enterprise.
Oh, who this is? Bennie? Send it to the old out there. Let's get what's the name?
You know
Walmart stuff up out of here.
You know they looking at the picture too, because last time, you know.
Oh, yeah.
Well, we better check, make sure.
Ain't no doubt.
Yeah, they looking at your picture.
Yeah. Make sure they got the right home.
Right. But you know, that's just what we're up against. But Black Star Academy, we're in the business of trying to make that correction. We want to give our kids a good, strong, and we say our mission statement is that black excellence. That's our mission statement. So, you know, you're not getting shortcut in math, science, any of the core subjects. You know, we're not going to tell kids, you know, you're doing 12th grade work when you're actually doing 3rd grade work. You're saying that you can read when you can't read.
So that transcript you can apply to any college.
You'll be able to go. And of course, let me talk about college there for a second. You know, what you need to go to college?
What?
2 things.
High school diploma, right? Or do you? Well, GED, high school diploma.
You need some money or some connections. That's all. That's all.
Well,
Folks don't showed you that, right?
Yeah, that big case. Yeah, you took it out my mouth.
They showed you that.
They were sending them now as world class athletes. One, they couldn't even throw a ball from here to that door. Yeah.
So
that's right.
Yeah. So you know, the thing is that we can't get caught up in this propaganda of thinking that this is what it takes to move around this country. No. The only thing it takes to move around this country is to be white and have some money. You know, if you ain't white, then you better have some money and some connections. You know, if you're willing to take that pat on the head, that'll get you around. That'll get you in college. So, you know, if you want to kneel and bow down and go down there and run that ball for what my man down Tuscaloosa.
Oh, Nick.
Yeah, run down there, run it for him.
Don't forget about Gus down there too.
Anyway,
Nick and Gus.
You know, hey, they get you in college now.
Yeah, they get you in now. You got a skill or a talent. You know.
Yeah, you got, you know, of course, if your family member is well known, they get you in college. You know, because you got that network. But in reality, if you got that, the thing that they can't hold you is you got that knowledge. They can't hold you.
Yeah, speaking of knowledge, I know you said you teach y'all do the math, the science, and the basic core studies. I've heard y'all offer other stuff too, like just basic stuff like I can read a tape measure, stuff like that. Y'all offer that too, right?
Oh, that's all. We offer life skill courses, which include construction. You know, we call it home renovation, or plumbing.
All this is at Black Star, right?
All this is Black Star. You know, we also have sewing. You know, these are things that we used to do anyway.
Yeah.
You know,
sewing.
That's
a lost art.
Yeah. You know, so if we just think about it, at the starting in 1865 when they ran the black folks off their land, and they had no workers. So, you know, very few white people had any skills. So what did they do? They started unions, you know, to build up their skills and keep the blacks out. You know, while they built up their skills on how to build houses and do all these things, and, you know, they was keeping black people suppressed.
Then they came in and created building codes and stuff like that. So
Came in
even
with
if you
codes.
had the money, you still gotta come see me so I can know what you're doing.
Well, you know, they used to be called black codes. What do they call now? What kind of codes they call them now? You know?
You call them taxes.
They call it law, flat out.
Laws, taxes.
They mix it all in together on the laws,
Yeah.
legislation.
But at the end of the day, they're still black codes because they still serve for the same purpose.
Well, so how long's Academy been around? I mean, graduating classes, or you know?
We opened the doors in 2014. I think 2014, right? And I think we had started with 14 kids.
Okay.
Started with 14 kids, and right now this year school just started on the 3rd of September, and we have right now about 52.
Oh man, y'all ain't going back in August either. That's old school, September 3rd.
Right, yeah, 3rd, so.
So I'm about to ask you about that too. All right, so you got Black Star Academy. Obviously, we see you don't really agree with traditional education on how they're doing it because it's geared toward one thing. Do you follow the same format as far as like when school start, end, how long the days are? You know, where they got to come?
Oh, the curriculum in that too.
Yeah, so
we don't follow the format. We don't even follow the holidays. You know? So the holidays, General Lee Day, we in there. We're making sure we're doubling down.
In there.
You know, we talking about General Lee.
Are they African centered holidays? Do y'all follow African centered holidays?
We do. We definitely honor Kwanzaa.
Kwanzaa.
Kwanzaa is one that we honor, and also during the month of June, Juneteenth. Another big one that we actually do it in May so that the kids can get a chance to experience it.
Okay.
And then, if they want to, they can come back and attend any of the festivities around the city during the month of June for Juneteenth.
Juneteenth, our celebration legendary. I hear about you throwing, man. I'm yet to make one, but I'm gonna make one. I'm gonna make one.
Get you out there, man.
I try, but you know we be in here chopping it up.
I understand.
what about the classic? Y'all be closed for the classic? That's a big African song.
Negro center.
Yeah,
It's
it
African
is.
song.
It is. And the thing about the classic, and if we talk about the classic, well, we need to talk about the classic because currently that was an event that had been traditionally a black economic base.
All right.
But here in the last few years, it has become a white economic base, and blacks have benefited to a lesser degree, to a minimum, right now.
They channeling that money right. They move that money right
Right. So,
where they want it, Jack.
so as educators, how do you let that happen from two of Alabama's most
HBCUs.
HB, right? Yeah. You know. So how do you let that
Historical
happen?
black colleges.
You
Yeah,
know,
universities.
how do you give that away? I don't understand
Right.
that.
Well, I guess speaking on that, you know, you mentioned about how it was economically good for blacks at one point with HBCUs. I've seen over myself over the years how it went from the tailgating went up, which go back to the city. If we don't own no hotels, motels.
Nah, with UAB.
That's back, yeah, exactly.
Ain't no tailgate went up on no UAB.
I think
gang.
the schools themselves, they get a little bit, but when you think about who own the hotels, the motels, most of the eateries, parking and stuff like that, people they hear about the revenue that it produce, but actually who does that revenue go
Yeah,
to?
who would benefit?
Like
That's
Sheila
what people
Tyson.
are,
Like Sheila Tyson said, they shooting for it to open up that year in the new stadium that's supposed to be coming. They say they at that classic, man.
Yeah.
They say they at that classic
in
hard.
the right deal, they'll get it.
Yeah.
Yeah, they will. So, and those are the type of things that we have to be mindful of as African Americans about the economic aspect and start, you know, weighing on talking about civil rights and Black Lives Matter. We need to be talking about economic rights in this country. Yeah, because that's the only thing that's go make a difference.
And I said that to say, so people understand out there, we ain't just hating on the new stadium coming. which I had never agreed with since they've been talking about it, because we ain't got nobody playing out no way.
And then
But
it ain't no benefit.
UAB got plenty of money. They could have built it.
They could have built their own stadium.
But I say that because people need to know the city owns Legion Field.
Right.
Do not, what's the name of them people at the school that's over the school, the government association at the school, the presidents and the SDA, the school SDA of Alabama State and Alabama A&M. Do not let that Class leave Legion Field. It doesn't benefit inner city Birmingham. That new stadium, the tax dollars are being pooled around everywhere, but to the citizens and to the well-doing for the inner city of Birmingham. So we need that classic at Legion Field. I know what I'm saying. I'm probably amount to a hill of beans to whoever listening as far as those SGAs at those reps at those colleges go. But if you do it, you fucking up, man. You let that classic leave the field.
Yeah.
That ain't our money once it leave that field, man.
A lot of people throw
It's
in
not
on
the
that,
city's money.
They don't know that the city of Birmingham doesn't own that stadium. It's almost like when they took our tax dollars and said, boom, we're going to give $3 million a year for 30 years, that's $90 million. You really done paid for half of the stadium.
That right.
But when you think about it, when they took our money and did it, what's the benefit to us? It ain't no ticket sale, no off on your ticket, no free parking, or nothing. And then, I mean, what they made us feel like it's a blessing for us just to get a new stadium. It ain't no benefit.
I can certainly say with all certainty that the city of Birmingham will pay the full cost of that stadium.
Oh man, there ain't no secret.
They go pay the full cost of it, and of course there's no benefits.
Upkeep, all that.
Right. So there's a minimum amount of money that's going to be parlayed back into the black community. Just as we got the World Games coming up here, and our city officials. This goes to the city officials. How many of them do you hear coming out to the black entrepreneurs and saying, "Hey, look, we need to be there. You need to be getting in on getting something."
See where you fit in at.
But they're going over talking to all the white folks and telling them that, how many you want over in your restaurant? How many in your carpool? And that's the next thing, they even starting a whole new carpool. What happened to Max? You got Max already right there. Add a couple more buses and run those buses around there. You can go to the black people and say, hey, look, start you up a jitney cab. They're not doing that. So it's a total disservice from our so-called leadership in this city. And I'm just going to put this out here. One of the things I've always asked, it doesn't matter who's running, and I've been voting now since the 70s, I always ask this question, what you going to do for black people? And if that individual have to think about that, they can't answer that.
No agenda.
He ain't the one for you. So I'm saying to anyone who's voting for a black politician, ask them what's the agenda for black people? What you gonna do for black folks?
Well, you kind of know the answer you're gonna get with what they say, multiculturalism.
Multiculturalism.
You know that's not the one you want to vote for.
Right? New word. So we know you. Most of us in here sitting in here know you're a real estate guy. A mogul in it, as far as what I've seen. That's the pedestal I'm gonna put you on. I know you're a pretty humble guy. You ain't gonna go on blast with it. But speaking on that stadium, and we jumped on the politics of it. The real estate around that stadium, those old people that have been owning those houses since their great grandma and them have.
Exactly.
All that stuff. Being the guy that stay ahead on what's coming as far as that goes, what do you see? What's gonna happen to those people down there when they get to talking about parking and more restaurants and more hotels?
Yeah. Well, by the time the stadium open, all of them, most of all of them, will be displaced and moved on out of there. Most of them have already been gone. I can remember that community when I was a young man. It was a full community all the way down to where, and actually we used to live right where the Civic Center sits today, the Coliseum. We used to sit right there on the corner of that street, and there used to be a railroad, rail tracks that ran right in front of our house. That ran all the way down 19th Street, all the way across, and there used to be a grit company, Jim Dandy, that used to be sitting right there. So it used to be a whole community. that that was there. So I've seen, I can say, this has been the last probably over 40-year time span. Whole community has been wiped out, displaced, and relocated elsewhere. A lot of them owned their homes, a lot of them didn't. It was owned by the company store.
So it ain't just started, basically.
No. So what we're seeing is nothing new. But for the individuals who do own their homes, a lot of them freely give them up for the fact that they think that, well, you know, I'm going to get $25,000 and I go move to Centerpoint and buy me a $150,000 house.
So you lost.
Yeah.
Now you gotta know.
You got to know. And this is what happens all the time. I've seen, you know, firsthand evidence over in Crestwood. Houses that were selling for $5,000–6,000 now sell for over $200,000.
Jeez.
And these are the same houses. You know, just a little paint, a little renovation put in, and the people took, you know, $5,000 and they moved on. So, but that only happens, two reasons why it happens. One is that assimilation is one, and because we're so willing to assimilate with other people, we'll jump up and sell what is ours, no matter what kind of shape it's in. And you know, we won't invest time and money into renovating ourselves. We want some crap somebody already got. I call it, you know, all farted out, you know, how somebody else have. You know, we want to move in there. I want to move next door to Mr. White. You know, hey, I'm buying me a Cadillac car too. It's assimilation, and it's all wrong. And the propaganda of it is just all bad. It's twisted. It's twisted propaganda. But it couldn't happen if we wasn't so willing to assimilate. You know.
Well, that falls back to education.
It goes back to education, and of course, you know, Black Star Academy. That's what we try to emphasize, the fact that if you do have a home, that's your home. Don't be moved by the fact that folks talking about, you know, your home is worthless. And I said, I like to have my home worthless, because that means that's less tax dollars I got to pay the state of Alabama. So, you know, keep my value low.
So when y'all talking about coming to get it, I'm gonna start painting and nailing. That's what finna happen.
Right. So, you know,
Come on, get it
you
now.
wanna come get it? Come on.
All right, well, I think it's been pretty informational now. I guess the next question I'm asking is, how do they get in touch with you to get enrolled in Black Star Academy? Because there's going to be somebody watching who's going to find some interest and spark the interest and come out there and see what they got going on. See what you got going on. So give them a little information. Where it's located.
My instrument smart.
What's the number? And what type of funding they going to need to go? Because I'm sure it's going to cost a couple dollars. Because y'all know y'all ain't funded by the state. Around talking about all that black stuff. Before they get y'all niggas no money.
Is it private, charter, public?
You niggas
we're
no money
strictly
around talking about these white
Private.
Yeah, we're private, and we don't depend on that 501c3, you know, all that stuff. You know, we're about responsibility, and you know, education is black people's responsibility. It's not the responsibility of everybody. So even though we may ask for donations, but we're not asking for donations from everybody. Because, you know, you start asking the wrong people for donations, and you're gonna get that, you're gonna put that shoulder pain
Won't
around
tell
your
you what to
shoulder.
do.
Yeah, we think maybe you need to start teaching French.
Yeah.
You know? So,
Get that Swahili up out of there.
yeah, you know, so we don't want that, and one way to distance ourselves from that is not to accept any types of donations of financing, especially from the government. But Black Star Academy, we're located at 1375 Tomahawk Road, and that's in the Forestdale community, right there.
Forestdale.
Our telephone number up there is, I should know it by heart, but it's area code 205-598-8928. You can reach us at on the web at www.blackstar.birmingham.org. We have a Facebook page at Black Star Academy. Right, so we invite anybody who's interested in learning more about Black Star to come up and tour the school. You won't find metal detectors, armed guards, people with sharpshooters on the roof. We don't believe in that. We believe that, come and learn, and we'll take care of everything else.
Okay. Well, that's what's up. Well, we appreciate you coming through, Mr. Tamadana Kapuka. We appreciate that. I'm gonna see if I can get me old fat name. I've been thinking about calling myself What's the number? I think that'll kill. I don't even want no last name. What's the number?
I might just drop the salmon and just say no. That sounds
Absolutely.
No.
Because, and then too, you said, a lot of folks said, well, it's not the first name, because the first name was the name that your parents gave you.
Okay.
And they gave you that from their heart. They may not wasn't aware about the last name part of it, but certainly the last name.
So. Samuel sound French, man. I want some Swahili, man. That sound French, man.
Well, that's what's happening, man. Well, we appreciate you coming on through.
Man, I sure enjoyed it. Plenty of information, man. I always enjoy it.
Okay, well, hey, that was Barbershop Stories, the podcast, episode 13, here with Mr. Tamadani Kapuki. Because the game does up on a few things. If you want to see it again, all you got to do, and I'm going to tell you while you're on it live, YouTube, go to Backman Entertainment. That's going to pull up all the podcasts and you can catch it. Or you can go to Facebook and you can check it out there. Or you can go to the website. You can go to thebennymackingthemshow.com. We'll see you next week.
Well, before we leave, give us one good Swahili word to go out this thing with. What's a goodbye? We'll see y'all next time, or appreciate y'all, or I know you tell us words all the time because we open up with a bar gunny and you
jumbo.
See jumbo. So how we gonna go out?
Kuchinan.
Kuchinan.
Hoochie
Kutinan. Kutinan. No.
All right, Hoochie Mama, we'll see you later on. $40 still on the table. All right, Barbershop.